WWE was able to start doing things, and they started doing things with their women over there, and just with pushing the envelope in certain ways that we were not able to do, or at least we weren't going to do, was kind of at first. I think that really, this is a long answer to your short question, but I think that really probably put the kibosh on any spinoffs, because they're like, we got to keep ratings. And so now let's see, that's when we started to go out and bring in more girls, and that we all started to get dispersed into storylines. And is there going to be a bra and panty match? There's no spinoff, and even when they did the calendar, I don't know, I'll pause. I have an interesting story about the calendar. If you want to talk about that, I can pause before it, or kind of dovetails off of this.
No, please go right into that one. That is on the list here, but let's do it now.
Well, I think it's because it talks to the fact of, would there be a place to do a spinoff? And that's, so again, I'm not saying that wasn't legitimate. We weren't brought in and sat down and said, hey, let's storyboard this. So I'm sure kind of powers that be are looking at going, is there something here? But unfortunately, what made Nitro so great, what made the Nitro girls so great, wasn't that we were fighting each other. People didn't love us because we were having cat fights, at all. Did that get a pop when all of a sudden I had to go into the ring with Tigress? Yes, it did. But it's very short-lived. Like, that's not how people wanted to see me. That's not how I wanted to see myself. That's not what we signed up for, and that's not who we were. And so all of a sudden, even it could be a good show, you start to lose what made you who you are, who you really are, right? And when you lose yourself, you lose what makes everything so special. The magic started to slip. So I believe as a brand, they started to compromise. So when they had us do the calendar, so we did the first version, and they never let it come to light. Like, literally. So it was Che, myself, and Ricky Rackman. We were hosting it. And then what they did is they said, nope, we want this to be all TNA. And they made us all come back in, and they made us put on thongs, and they're like, kind of that sex sells type of idea. Now, mind you, this is towards the end of things, and WWE is bra and pantying it up. And the idea is, if we're going to stay relevant in this particular genre in the marketplace, then we have to compete with what's over there. And it was disgusting. Like, we're like, you're selling us out. You're making us sell. And again, those little 3-year-old girls that you wanted to see women in a different way, you're now showing them exactly, you're sexualizing all of this in such a way that there's nothing that feels good. The mom is no longer going to have her 3-year-old watching this stuff, right? And so when they put that out, and I think, it didn't do well, so I think that was probably like, oh yeah, no, writing's on the wall. This isn't going to work, because none of us, we all loved each other. We couldn't pretend to be catty. We couldn't pretend to be gossipy. We couldn't pretend to want to pull the other's weave, because we were sisters and we genuinely were family. And we're just like, yeah, no, I'd rather not do this if you're going to make me do that. So yes, standards and practice wouldn't let us do what WWE was doing. And so as that envelope kept getting pushed, but the real problem was that we tried to be what they were. Instead of just staying in our lane, like, our fans didn't need to see us doing bra and panty matches. They want to see great storytelling. They want to see great storylines. And there's a lot of other interesting ways to have women have, conflict, and women and men have conflict, and all of it, besides getting really raunchy. And so I would say, sure, yeah, we had oversight. We had the big hammer coming down saying, no, you guys can't do that. But you know what? I think that also is like, well, that's an opportunity to get even more creative. Like, part of what made Nitro was NWO, man. Like, you think of the things they came up with, these ideas, it was like, boom. And that's what, I have chills just thinking about it. Like, the things that came out of that company were big, and we lost our way, and we tried to compete, and we couldn't compete because of the company that we were. And yes, that's why we ended up losing in the ratings, but we never had to try to compete that way to begin with, is my whole point. Like, we could have been much more intelligent, much more innovative, much more creative, and who knows what could have happened.
You mentioned straying away a little bit from the original Nitro Girl concept. What did you think when you and your coworkers there started to get integrated into storylines and that eventual feud deal? Was that something that that the group as a whole were in favor of, or not? And is it true that Vince Russo, was the driving force behind those shenanigans, so to speak?
To my understanding, yes, he was the driving force. He was, and it all happened really quickly because he had just come in. We had just brought on Stacy Keebler. She had just won the, whatever, Miss Nitro Girl. I can't remember what the pageant title was, but we did that whole nationwide search for our next Nitro Girl. She literally got to dance with us one night. And he had just come in, and then we went to Houston. I'll never forget it, because it was like a fury that day in the back. Like, they're just like, all right, Nitro Girls are fighting. We're splitting them up. We're like, there was no time. It was a fast decision. They sent her out to the mall. They're like, you got to go get a black suit, pair of glasses. They knew exactly what they wanted her character to be, but we were all kind of told, like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And so, they threw spaghetti at the wall, and obviously Miss Hancock worked, and so she was immediately out, right? And I know that Kim was getting ready to go out, and they were going to put her in different storylines. And of course, that's as the movie was coming out, and David Arquette was like, there was a lot of different things. So I think really quickly they were trying to say, what do we do with who and what and when and where and how? And we are going to continue to try to push the envelope. Nitro Girls as a whole, we're going to go off air. So they were still there, but you were going to see them not at all, if at any. You might get to see them 1 30-second, commercial bumper, but otherwise only the people in the arena would see them. And so they were bringing on other Nitro Girls. This was all happening while we were filming the movie, actually. And so we knew that they were going to do some things like, hey, we're just bringing on others. We're evolving. We're going to try to put you guys in some storylines. I actually, at the time, was doing a lot of announcing with Chad Damiani for all the pay-per-view stuff. And so we were supposed to take over the Saturday morning show. So I wasn't really wanting to necessarily go wrestle, but I think at the same time, we didn't know what to expect. So we were open. B, we kind of had to be if we wanted to have a job, right? Like, you're going to do this, or you're just not going to have, it's just not the fit for you anymore. And so I immediately had to go to wrestling school, because they were putting me in that match with Tigress and Miss Hancock right away. So I had to go learn things really fast, like crash course, And so as a whole, it was exciting, and it was also terrifying, because none of us were wrestlers. A few of us did not want to do it at all. And so, like, AC Jazz is, very open about it. She was like, I will not do this. And that's why she left. She was like, I'm not wrestling. I don't want to be in the storylines. And so once I got into it, I never felt confident, because I wasn't a wrestler. And I was like, I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to screw this up. I'm like, I don't want to go out there and screw up somebody's match, and I still look back at clips, and I'm like, oh, I actually didn't screw it up. It actually looks like I did a good job, but I did an okay job. I don't know that I did a great job. I'm so grateful that I had Medusa. She really helped me out. I had good people I got to work with once they did break us up, that helped to know how to cover for a newbie like myself. And, but I just didn't feel comfortable, and I really wanted to go more into doing the announcing and things like that. And so that's what they were working on. As far as for me, my character, Tigress, and obviously Charmel, who was Storm at the time, they then turned her into Paisley. They were really the only two that said, yeah, let's do this, and they were all about it. They went in, they jumped in, they did great with the opportunity. Obviously, Queen Charmel, one of my besties, soul sisters to this day. I was there when Che and I were with her when she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's kind of amazing where we've come from, that just some of the things that have developed out of that from that time. And so thanks to Russo, Had that not ever happened, we never would have had, maybe we never would have had Queen Charmel. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's pretty amazing that just to see the rest of what happened even after WCW ended, and kind of the perpetuation going, then folding into WWE.